Welcome to our Spain, our very first interview episode. And hi,
Right.
Gaetano. How's it going?
Hi, Tanya. This is so exciting. I know.
So
I mean, I'm
exciting.
glad you mentioned it's our first interview because I'm wondering if we're going to have to come up with a new opener for interview
Oh
shows,
my
right?
gosh. Right. Before we do our intro for the interview, you have an Ask Spain, perhaps, to
I
start?
do have an Spain, and I'm going to say this. My kids laughed at me when this after it happened, and I
I'm
was telling
sorry.
them I got an Spain moment. This was my Spain moment for the next show, and they like literally rolled their eyes at me. But they are teenagers, so they roll their eyes at everything. Love you, girls.
I'm sorry. Did I also not roll my eyes at you?
I don't know. My
Maybe.
video's not working.
Okay.
So well, we went to the IVAM Modern Art Museum,
Hmm.
and we took in the modern art. Beautiful museum. They have great exhibits going on right now. Was a wonderful. I got the kids out of the house to do something cultural, which was
That's
a reason why we
amazing.
moved to Europe as well, right? And um, so we were done. I was like, I want to just pop into the gift shop just to look around at you never know when you
Hmm.
want a new coffee table art book. And there was an elderly German couple there, and they were we were all trying to leave the bookshop at the same time, and the
Right.
wife went first, and the husband was like, you know, um, shooing me to go,
Yeah, yeah.
opening the door. And I was like, no, you go. But I waved him, no, you go, as they were speaking German. And then he looked at me and he goes, gracias. And I was like, he thought I was Spanish. I'm fitting in. I look the part. I don't look like an American tourist. And I came out feeling so proud and talked to the girls in the
Until you
lobby.
talk to them.
Yeah. And they're like, whatever, dad.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But I felt like after 2.5 years, I earned that. I'm fitting in. I'm dressing like the locals,
You know what? I have those moments too, and I know that my Spanish isn't good enough to be mistaken for a Spanish person. So you just have to you just take it and you just get excited about the fact that that happened and don't think about it too much.
Oh my gosh. So I will let people know we have this interview that we've recorded separately from this
Yes.
introduction, but
Hmm.
I'm going to tell you something that I wish I would have thought about this to bring up. I told our interview, by the way, is a friend Melissa, a
Hmm.
fellow expat. I was actually telling her that story and
Yes.
how the girls were had mocked me and rolled their eyes at me. And she goes, well, you do dress the part. You do wear khaki pants, sweaters, and a puffer vest. And that's the Spanish look. I'm like, that's the look
There
everywhere.
you go.
And she pulled up like an Instagram page of Spanish men, and they're all in puffer vests, sweaters, and khaki pants.
So it was,
Old and
so
young.
maybe, exactly. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so we did start, just so that everybody knows, as it's our first interview, we started with a friend because we needed to make sure that we had a very, very patient, lovely person that would sit through technical problems. And we did have some, so it
We
was
did
very
have some.
good. Even though we thought we had everything squared away, right?
Right.
We knew everything that was going on, everything was great. And of course, you hit a technical glitch. So she was very patient and lovely. And that was the reason why we started with her. And we think that you will very much enjoy what she has to offer because it's another point of view of an expat experience. And then we will be moving on to sort of other people that we find
Other
interesting.
people that may have businesses, other
Hmm.
expats just have interesting things about their life. They want to share different perspectives.
Yeah,
So we are open for business now in
exactly.
2026. We are growing the show in new ways.
Exactly. And in the meantime, enjoy this interview.
Hi, Melissa. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm good. Welcome to our show. You're our guinea pig.
Welcome.
Tanya, say hi.
Hi, welcome. This is our first foray into three people. So we'll see how it goes. This is very
I'm
exciting.
excited.
Melissa
Yes.
is a dear friend of mine. And Melissa, I have to say, we have mentioned you extensively on our podcast because
It's
when we
true.
have talked about moving and getting settled, you have come up repeatedly as the woman who found my apartment for me. So everyone, to all of our listeners, this is the my patron saint of Valencia, Melissa.
Hi, everybody. I'm here. I like to pick people up on Facebook, but only when the moment strikes.
Well, this
Yeah,
is also how Gaetano and I met. So this is like a Facebook like meetup, I guess, of sorts.
it's a reunion.
It is a reunion. So we're just what we're interested as, this is our first interview, as everybody knows. We thought it would be great to start with you because you are sort of like us. You moved here, you have reasons why you moved, and just another person of how things are going and things that you've done. So I don't know, Gaetano, if you want to start with some questions and get
Well,
going.
I think what's great about having you here, Melissa, and again, thank you for coming and being our guinea pig. Um, you have a family like us. You're an expat like us. So I guess I would ask you why? Why Spain and why Valencia?
Why?
Like how did you end up here? We know how we ended up here. So how did you end up here?
Well, it's kind of a funny story. When COVID hit, we decided to homeschool our children.
Okay.
And
That's
so we
great.
homeschooled for 2.5 years.
Wow.
And at the end of that 2.5 years, my husband was like, I want to send you to Spain for a month. And I was like, okay, we hadn't traveled at all, but I was not going to say no to that. And so he wanted to go to Madrid, but I did not want to go to Madrid for a month. And so I was like, if it's about our children's education, let's have them pick where they want to go. And so we showed them some YouTube videos, and they saw the YouTube video on Valencia, and they decided they wanted to spend the most time here in Valencia. And I had been in Salamanca and Barcelona and Madrid, and I had no clue about Valencia. So I was pleasantly surprised.
That's
Um,
crazy. So that's the first thing. That's the first time I think I've heard that the kids picked the location.
Right?
Like off the
right,
bat. First of all, amazing that your kids were still alive after 2.5 years of homeschooling, because I'm not
right.
sure if that would have happened in our house.
And
But
that you're not
I
in
think that's
jail.
amazing that you let them choose. I think that's really a wonderful choice. And they made a good choice, if I do say so
I
myself.
hands down agree. So we spent 2.5 weeks here, just me and them. My husband came 2 days before we were leaving to go to Barcelona. And so I think it was just a really great experience because we got to walk the whole city. We did everything as tourists. And
Hmm.
my two takeaways, the biggest things that I noticed was that everybody had dogs and there
Hmm.
were lots of baby carriages. So to me, just in observing from a tourist perspective, I just thought this place is really neat, right? Like people
Yeah.
Right.
love animals and babies. Like what more can you ask for? And then on our way back home to the United States, my husband asked at that point, like, how do you feel about moving to Europe? He sprung it on me. It was a complete
Hmm.
and total,
Oh, so
uh,
this wasn't even a scouting trip. That, to your knowledge, this was we're just gonna go. My lovely husband sending us to Europe for a fun month, and
yeah, he said he didn't tell me that what his intentions were because he knew I would have approached it differently. And he's right. I would have totally looked at life in a different way. And so yeah, it was really neat. But it was also really hard when he said, "Do you want to move to Europe?" Because where we're from, that's where my husband was born, and I pretty much lived there my whole life. And so we had
Mhm.
really deep roots, and a huge community of people. But when it was time to start looking at schools and where our girls were going to go to school, we just were not really excited with the options.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
and then so
Well,
it just made a lot of sense for us to move to Spain. And I'm originally from Bolivia, so I have applied for citizenship. We're in the process of, and by process we have put in the applications, and now we're just patiently waiting.
Right.
Uh,
that's also a bonus, I think. But also, what was it like? Because I think both Gaetano and I, when we moved, we didn't. We I don't. I'm from England originally. I don't have any family in the states. We didn't really. And I think Gaetano, not huge connections in the states, other than obviously friends. Was
Right.
it
Yeah.
much
Both my
more
parents have passed
difficult?
away. Yeah.
Was it much more difficult to as of a decision? Because I see people struggling with that more. It's like you're actually leaving family there. It's like that's harder, I guess.
yeah, I'm a single or an only child. So my mom is still alive, and we gave her the option of staying back in the United States, but all in all, it wasn't really much of a choice because
Right?
Mhm.
I have the 2 grandchildren and I'm the only child, and so
So, but that's nice that
so
she had the, not everybody wants to travel, right? So, yeah.
and I get it, like, it was really hard for my mom to make the move. I mean, being retired age, it was just incredibly difficult, but she knew that we were doing it for our children because we wanted
Mhm.
them to have a better education and a better quality of life.
Mhm.
So yeah, that was a really difficult thing. My husband, he has a few family members, but all in all, like we don't have a ton of family, so that part wasn't difficult. And the fact that the girls had not been in school, they didn't have those kinds of friendships. We have friends, but not those kinds of, school friends.
Yeah, the
So it was
school
just this.
friendships are quite strong, aren't they? Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes, that would make it a lot harder. So we knew it was either do it then or we were gonna miss our opportunity to do it.
We got
Um,
really lucky because like Zena's best friend at the time was in the military, and they got papers to move at the exact same time that we moved. So they moved to Japan, we moved over here, and it was like such great timing from that point of view that just, yeah, otherwise I think it would have been a lot tougher probably as well.
I hate to be a
agreed.
smartass, but I think you want to clarify that her parents was in the military, not the
Yes.
actual child.
Sorry. Well, I think if you might feel like you're all in the military if you're in a military family that keeps moving, but yes, you are correct.
Right.
They had to move also. So, yeah, thank you for correcting that.
So how were your daughters? So we've heard about you. It was sprung on you, but it was sprung on your daughters too. Were they like gung ho? Did it take convincing? Did it like how did you get them for it?
So the one that we thought would be happy cried and did not wanna go, and then the one that we thought would cry was totally like, "I'm gonna go pack my bags." So
Okay.
it was super reversed. It was really hard. It was a hard process to say goodbye to people, and we kinda did it a little bit differently. We didn't make a big deal because my husband was still working, so he worked
Mhm.
for 3 months after me and the girls moved here, and so they didn't know at his job yet that what was happening because he wanted to be respectful and give them some more time, and,
Mhm.
so, yeah, we didn't have a big to-do, but we did tell close people and friends, and, yeah, it was a hard process, the whole thing, and it was really quick because we came in May, and by that December, we had moved here. So,
Wow. That's not
we
a
had
lot of
done
prep time.
that's
Yeah.
not a lot, right? You know the whole process, and in between that, I had to go to Bolivia to get my name changed because they had my name wrong on my birth certificate.
Oh my
So,
god.
we had to come back to Valencia, and then, like, 6 days later, we flew back to the United States, flew to Bolivia, and then when we got back from Bolivia in September, that's when it was on. It was time to, like, pack everything up and get things moving, and it
Mhm.
was just, like, it was wild. It was a wild ride. But they knew why we were doing it, and we explained to them that it was for their benefit, and when we
Right.
came and we toured their school, they were really excited, and they were excited to go to a private school and to wear uniforms, which I know a lot of children would not be, but my girls were really excited about not having to figure out what to wear every day.
Well,
So
I can
once
tell
that
my girls were very excited for the uniforms as well. So
Mine not.
right?
Is still challenging that. It's like, why? I'm like, it just is. If the school has a uniform, then that's what's going on. Um,
Everybody's different. Everybody
yeah,
has, but my girls were really excited for for that whole thing and getting back into school, even though it was the
yeah.
middle of the year, which was could potentially be a very difficult transition.
We came in
mhm.
middle of the year too, and I actually feel like in some ways it was easier because we only had half a year left, so that also made that transition a little easier. And then you're special, and you come in the middle of the year, so everyone's like, "Who's this new person? This is so exciting!"
And it does, if
Exactly.
you come in the middle of the year, it does limit school choice because you just call around and see who actually has availability now. So then you have a better picture too. You're like, well, we'll
Yeah,
apply, we'll say yes to these ones, right?
Exactly.
this is true.
So Melissa, since we've met, and I think a thing we bond on is also the beauty of the city and everything. But you are actually an artist. Like you actually are still pursuing artistic endeavors. So how is that for you? I mean, have you found it better living here? Has it been different? Have you been able to find yourself more artistically since you've made the move?
Yes, most definitely. I am an interior designer by trade, and that's what
Okay.
I did back in the United States. And so by moving to Spain, I originally thought I was going to continue being an interior designer, working as an interior designer when I am able to work. But
Hmm.
I've noticed that it's different here than it is in the United States. And so as a result, since I'm not working right now, I started taking classes and just started at a studio where it's called the Club of the Notebook,
Okay.
and it's a really cool school. And so you go for 2 hours once a week, and they give you all these different exercises. You use all these different mediums. And that was kind of my intro back into drawing because I
Okay.
hadn't done that for many years. I also I love sewing. I used to have a sewing business back in the United States as well, and I brought my sewing machine and all my fabrics,
Oh,
and thought that that's something else I was going to continue to do while I was here in Spain. But we're limited on space here in the United States. I had an entire basement studio, and here the apartments are small, and
Right.
yeah,
they
all my
definitely
fabric is
are.
yeah, it's just tight. It's just a different way of living. So it hasn't quite worked out the way that I wanted. And so I've slowly transitioned into doing more drawing and painting. And I've seen that grow. Like that has been just this growing exponentially for me. And it's not something I intended to do. It's just something that I like to fill up my time with
Hmm.
things and activities. And I think that's something here in Spain. We all like one thing I've noticed is people really take their hobbies seriously, and people have a lot of flexibility in their schedule. And so you'll
Uh-huh.
meet people in your classes of all different ages. Some are working, some are not, some are retired, and they're doing all kinds of different things. So
Now, in
that's a
your
great way
class
to
that
meet
you're,
people.
excuse me, but I'm sorry for interrupting you.
No
In
worries.
the class that you're taking, is it filled with a lot of expats or is it mostly Spaniards? Like, how are you?
We're about a quarter of expats at this point, and so now they sit us all at the same table so that we can all speak English to each other.
That's good.
However, it's been really good because the instructors, they speak Spanish, but they're learning English, and then a
Right.
lot of the expats are trying to learn Spanish, and so they it's like this mutual thing.
Yeah,
Everybody kind of helps everybody out uh, with the language
the
while
language.
we're doing
Yeah.
our
I think
classes.
you made a good point about the difference. I think a lot of people move to Spain because the dream of that lifestyle, the more relaxed lifestyle, but often people are coming with their American jobs, which a lot of people have to, and you don't get that, right?
Yeah.
So if you can come over and really get into the Spanish culture, then you can absolutely, that is much more how things are here, which is that people do have time to do these things and have a job and a family because it is, there's a value for that here. And I think it's that's a very interesting point that it's whether or not you will, when people move, if they'll be in a position to take advantage of that. But even if you don't, you feel it, right? You feel the fact that people are more relaxed overall, which it eventually gets you by osmosis a little bit, I think.
Right.
I agree. I think
When you mentioned that the um that it was different here, was that for the interior design? Was there something about the interior design that was different, or just creativity and learning and work in general?
Or the business
well,
itself. Yeah.
I think probably the business aspect, but also the fact that here, at least in Valencia, because the weather's so nice, people tend to live outside.
Mm.
And culturally speaking, Valencians they only invite family and friends generally, or like really close family and friends into their apartments. So I don't know that
Hmm.
it's like interior design is that important for them. It's
Oh,
just design is not a big deal, which is fine because everybody's meeting outside at restaurants and bars and hanging out at parks and things like that. So
Interesting.
yeah, and there's just not as many furniture stores, I guess. I mean, there are furniture
yeah.
stores. Don't get me wrong. They're like that.
Right.
where IKEA is a ton of furniture stores, but as far as like variety of, different types of furniture and decor, in the
It's
United States, there's
very,
so many
yeah.
stores and
Well, we've
places.
talked about the secondhand market. There is none, and the secondhand market is not anywhere near cool, funky, interesting stuff. It is literally the things that people didn't want that you also don't want usually. You can dig around, but there's not a big secondhand market, which I would also think might have an effect on interior design, which,
Yeah,
it,
hard to source antique silver lamps and those
yeah,
kinds
it's
of
not
things,
happening.
or cool vintage ones. It's hard to source
Yeah.
vintage, right? Um,
Yeah, you can't vintage here unless you buy it new. I mean, so therefore it's not.
and we've
Yeah,
talked about this in the past as well in our show and episodes, that consumerism isn't the same here. So I guess it kind of goes hand in hand, right? There isn't an impulse buy to buy that crystal bowl to show off to your friends if your friends aren't coming over. You don't need to buy the thing to show off to show
Mhm.
how cool you are, right? I
Your
guess that
mom
exactly.
and your grandma.
Exactly. And you know what? IKEA works really well. Like I just, the apartments are really small and you need things to be functional and for things to fit. And so
Mhm.
IKEA just does a really good job of that. And so the prices are good and the design is good. I'm a big IKEA fan.
right.
So yeah, but
It's not just
yeah,
for
so
college or first apartments anymore. No.
No.
no, it's a good. I went yesterday to IKEA, so I love that place.
Yeah, this is where I was regretting not buying a bed from IKEA because I did it from another store and it came in it comes in two packages and I only got one and I'm thinking I should have just gone straight to IKEA because now I'm sitting here with one package waiting. I don't know when the other one's going to show up. So, yeah, so
They
I
know what they're
can
doing.
they
IKEA
do.
knows what they're doing, and they
Yeah.
do
But
it
I think it's
well.
lovely that you just took your creativity and put it into something else. And are you doing all that at home as well? Or do you
So
have like an officey place that you can go and do that? Those
no, I do it
paintings?
on my dining room table.
Oh my
I
gosh, I love it.
It's all good though. I've
Yeah.
I've taken an oil painting class, which has been a lot of fun, but I recently just stopped taking it because I've started an illustration class. All of this has led me to like I love drawing and I love painting, but what am I going to do with it one day? And I thought, well, maybe I should learn how to does illustration, entail? And so
Mhm.
that's been a really great class as well. It's legit. Like apparently after you finish this class, they give you a certificate. So if you were to go to the university, you have the certificate saying that you completed. So I'm not sure what that means exactly because I'm not trying to go to the university. But again, it's a mix of like students. We have adult students. We have uh, I guess, high schoolers who are getting ready to graduate who want to test. So it's been a really intense course, and that's keeping me busy. So I do a lot of work at home doing my illustration homework and just kind of figuring it out. It's
I love
pushing
it.
me and pulling me in all these new directions.
So you haven't
So
had any problem finding an array of creative classes to take in different things
No,
here?
not at all. I mean, there's so many places, and that's the other thing. I could not probably do as many classes in the United States as I do here because the prices are amazing.
Right.
right.
The value that you're getting. So I can take multiple classes. It's almost like I'm back in university. That's actually how I'm treating it because I'm taking three classes now, and the other one is a creativity workshop, and yeah, it's just feasible. It's possible, and one class is 3 hours, the other's 2 hours, and then the other one's 2 hours long. And so, yeah, it's
Yeah,
affordable and you get great value for what you're paying. And in the United States, at least where I
so
was, it was
expensive.
so
Right.
expensive to take a
Yeah.
class.
So you could say that this move here, even though you did it to better your children's lives, someone else is benefiting from it as well, right?
100%, and that wasn't, I we weren't thinking about honestly, about what we were gonna do. We were just we joked that we became full-time parents again by
Hmm.
moving to Spain, but you end up finding if you have hobbies or you have things that you like. For example, my husband loves to do karate, so he found a dojo, and they're mainly all Spanish or, from other nationalities, in
Right.
there, and he loves to go do karate and he has his community of people there. And so I think moving here and thinking about the things that you like to do, that's a great way to find people who like similar things, and you end up making friends and having a, aside from just learning and doing those kinds of things, and that's
Right.
like a bonus. It wasn't something that we were expecting, but I guess it just kind of naturally happens.
Hmm. I love that. And it's difficult when you're to not just meet the friends of the parents of your kids' friends and do that through school. You have a really independent group of a network of friends, which I think that's important as well.
It's
Takes a lot
I
more
think it's
effort.
very important too, right? To find those people outside of that you're forced to see anyway, whether they're
Mhm.
expats or Spaniards or Ukrainians or Russians or whoever. That it's your own group, right?
Absolutely.
So, Melissa, I'm going to ask you a question because I feel like we've talked about this before, but it could be interesting to other people wanting to move here or people who live here already. Didn't you say before that you were looking for an artistic space so you weren't having to clutter up the house? Like, did you do that? Like, how was that journey? Like, what were prices? Like, I am right. Like, you were doing that, correct?
Yeah, it was definitely, I was looking for a place for my sewing. Currently, at the moment, I had it at my mom's house. She's 3
Okay.
buildings down from me. I moved her very close to me, but, being like, going to my mom's to go sew was not proving to be very fruitful. So I ended up looking for a studio space. And it was really, at first, it was really daunting. I found a space. There's lots of, I guess they're called like just studios, and you can get in touch with the owners. The one place that I had found, she didn't want a sewing machine because she felt that it was too loud. It would be too loud for the other artists,
Okay.
which was
Oh, okay, because
fine.
it was a shared
Studios, like
space.
co-op place, like kind of co-op studios.
There's other artists that work in the
Okay,
space.
that kind of makes
So
sense, I think.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was fine. So then that didn't work out, and then I went and looked on Idealista,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I might have just put office. I'm not really sure, but it and it had to be under a certain amount of money in order for it to make sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I did find a really nice co-working space. It was just a 20-minute bus ride from my house to this really nice space owned by this wonderful Valencian woman who she makes lamps and other decorative objects. And so
Okay.
she owns the space, and she was renting it out to other people. So I shared the space with a lady who did collage and a gentleman who he designs wine labels. He's from Tenerife, and so it was totally affordable.
I would love
And
for that to be a full-time job, but I haven't found that designing wine labels is a full-time job, so,
it's really
I'm
cool.
very jealous.
Yeah, his family owns a couple of vineyards out in the
Okay.
Canary Islands, and
Alright,
so
that
that's,
might
I guess
explain
that's
that.
how he got started. But it was a
Nepotism everywhere you look, isn't it?
but
I'm
he
just
does a really
jealous.
great job. He does
Yeah.
a great job with those wine labels. But yeah,
Wonderful.
it was a really great experience because that's where I would go and practice my Spanish, was with the
Mm.
both of them. They, and making connections, and again, getting embedded into the community and getting to know them. And so I guess maybe at the end of this last summer, I ended up moving out of the space because it was becoming more of an obligation, the feeling the
Mhm.
need to have to go. And by getting rid of the space and bringing things back into I brought my sewing machine back into my space and the fabrics back to my mom's. It opened up space for me to continue to explore other parts of my art and things that I
Mhm.
want to do. But I still am friends with them, and we still get together and have lunch.
Oh, that's
And
wonderful.
yeah, so it was a really good experience, and I would highly recommend. There's lots of those opportunities and spaces available for artists and potential makers who are looking to move to Valencia.
Yeah, I just love how you have sort of really not just continued to explore your creativity, but really expanded and utilized all the things that Valencia has to offer to make your creative journey like just more expansive, and that that's possible here. And I think a lot of people might feel intimidated trying to do this in a new city in another language and all this type of thing, and jumping into classes. And most of us are just taking Spanish classes, trying to hang on by a thread with our language. So to actually be getting into other types of classes is obviously, I mean, that just makes a difference. I think it makes you feel like you're just doing yourself, right? You're being yourself and doing the things that you love.
I will say it's important when for people who are moving here to give themselves grace, as in
Hmm.
there's this going to be this time period of transition, and it can be up to a year to 2 years.
Mhm.
Honestly, the first year you're just kind of looking around in disbelief that you're even here. And
Right.
you're navigating so many things that, like, the idea of any personal growth or that is like the last thing, right? You're just trying to survive. And so giving yourself grace during that time period and knowing that it's going to take time. And I
Mhm.
don't think that I fully committed to kind of the creative path that I'm on until like probably a year ago. And we just started our third year. So,
Yeah.
you know, just for people to remember, you just don't move here and jump in. It just takes time, and give yourself that time to get your bearings and to understand, the lay of the land. But when you're ready, know that there's all these things here and it's affordable and it's available to you. And the Valencians are so incredibly patient and kind, and they don't mind so much if you don't speak perfect Spanish. They're usually really willing to help you.
Mhm.
And yeah, I have found this to be a wonderful, hard yet wonderful experience.
You,
Definitely.
you bring up something wonderful in what you just said there, that you see a lot in these forums and these Facebook groups and of the expats and stuff, that I see it come up a lot, that people, when their honeymoon period is over, they get homesick and a lot of people move back. But you bring up something great that maybe people don't even think about, is when you're starting to feel that honeymoon wear off, right? Because it is now life, that it's now the time to build yourself again, right? To find out what, to explore yourself in this new home. I think that's wonderful. What a great thing, I think, for people to
Right.
remember, that, if you're feeling lost or you're hunting, you're like, why am I here? Then you go explore more. It's not about restaurants. It's about finding a class. It's about meeting other people outside of the safety net of expat moms and dads, or whatever you moved here with, or
Yeah, but also to that point, you could have that feeling where you were at some, I
yes.
mean, you don't have to move to another country to have that feeling. So I think what you've brought up is very interesting on many levels, because I think somebody that's been living in the same place could have that feeling and could use that advice as well. You got to get
Yes.
out there and do things for yourself sometimes. And I know sometimes, especially as a parent, that can feel overwhelming and impossible to do, for sure.
Mhm.
But there is a point and there are moments that you can do that, whether you've moved to a new country or whether you're just coming out of the infant years of having kids, or whatever it is, coming out of a marriage. I don't know, whatever it is that's happening to you, you can have that feeling of like, and I think that that's really good advice all around, I think.
You
Well,
know
we're
what?
always
You can't change your life unless you change your life. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's exactly what I was gonna say, is that we're always changing. We
Hmm.
are always
Right.
changing, and when you make such a dramatic move from one country to another, you are going to change, right? Just by
Yeah.
the nature of the
Right.
action of physically moving, you will become a different person. And so giving yourself time to explore what this new person in this new place wants to be and who they, it's a wonderful opportunity if you see it as such, right?
Right.
And I think it's important to, I still maintain a lot of my relationships with the people back home. That's really important. When I say back home, back from where I came from, but honestly,
Mhm.
Valencia is now my home. And I'm grateful for those relationships and those friendships that I've made here.
Right.
And I
I
think
always
my
say you
network
have
of
multiple homes. You
Yes,
can have as
exactly,
many
and this
homes as you
network
want.
of people that I've met, like, my connections now span the globe,
Yeah.
and, it's just incredible. You know, I would do it all over again, and I'm excited to see kind of what happens and where I'm headed with, all of my creative output and what I'm trying to do now that I'm here in Valencia.
Us too. Can't wait to see. And on that note, I do think we have maybe come to the end of the interview, and we want to thank you so much for not just being here, but being so open about the journey of being here and your creative journey and everything. So thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you,
me. It's been a lot
Melissa.
of fun.
All right. Bye.
Well, that's the end of our first interview. We hope you all enjoyed it.
That was very fun. I loved it. I think she was delightful, as we knew she would be. So hopefully we lived up to her expectations as well, and we hope everyone enjoyed the interview and maybe learned something.
And thank you, Melissa, wherever you are, for doing the interview with us.
Yes, absolutely.
Until next time, we will see you again. Hasta luego.
Hasta luego. Thank you for listening to Our Spain Poco a Poco. Since you love us so much, please do go on to our social media and follow us and like us and subscribe where you're listening, because it really does help us to grow and stick around and do what we are very much enjoying doing.
And, give us a shout out on the social medias. Give us a comment on what you would like to hear us talk about. I mean, we like to hear ourselves speak, but we do want to make this, informative for our listeners.
Absolutely, yeah. You can comment on one of our posts, or you can send us a message through our Spain Facebook page or Instagram. So we would love to hear from you.
Yes, we would. Till the next episode.
Bye.